Sexual violence, including rape and gang rape, remains one of the most harrowing crimes committed against women and children worldwide. It strikes millions of women and children, inflicting deep-seated trauma and eroding the very fabric of society. As communities grapple with the repercussions, the urgent need to address this global crisis becomes increasingly clear. The devastating reality is that rape and gang rape are not confined to conflict zones or marginalized groups. They permeate every corner of the globe, transcending geography, culture, and socioeconomic status. It transcends borders, cultures, and economic backgrounds, leaving victims with deep psychological scars, shattered lives, and, in many cases, a sense of injustice due to weak legal systems. The prevalence of these heinous acts underscores the urgent need for global action to protect the most vulnerable members of society. In many societies, sexual violence is not merely an act of aggression, but a calculated weapon wielded to assert control, intimidate, and exert power. In war-torn regions, it is systematically employed to instill fear and dismantle communities. For many, gang rape emerges as a brutal assertion of dominance, where the victim faces not only physical violations, but an invasion of their dignity, leaving them isolated, blamed, and without support. In this disturbing landscape, children are particularly at risk, often subjected to abuse in the very spaces that should offer safety, neglected by systems that ignore their plight. Children, including boys, are particularly vulnerable, with many cases occurring within the family or trusted community circles. Reports from international organizations highlight that child sexual abuse is significantly underreported due to fear, stigma, and a lack of child protection mechanisms. From South Asia to Africa, Latin America to Europe, cases of rape and gang rape occur daily, with many perpetrators walking free due to systemic failures in law enforcement and judicial processes. In some cultures, survivors are forced into marriage with their rapists, while in others, they face honor killings for bringing shame to their families. The causes of sexual violence festers within societal structures. Patriarchy and entrenched gender inequalities render women and children vulnerable, while weak legal frameworks fail to provide protection, leaving perpetrators unpunished. Societal structures often place men in dominant positions, reinforcing toxic masculinity and entitlement over women's bodies. Cultural norms often perpetuate stigma against victims, silencing their voices and deepening the cycle of abuse. Many societies blame victims rather than holding perpetrators accountable, discouraging survivors from speaking out. Weak legal frameworks and impunity. In many countries, weak laws, lack of enforcement, and corruption allow perpetrators to escape justice. Victims often fear reporting due to the low conviction rates. War and conflict. Armed groups use rape as a tactic to terrorize communities and exert control. In many war zones, rape victims are left without access to justice. Lack of education and awareness. In communities where sex education is non-existent, myths about consent and sexual violence persist, enabling predatory behaviors. Education remains a powerful tool, or the lack of it, in shaping attitudes and behaviors surrounding this scourge. Without awareness and understanding, the vicious cycle continues unabated, leaving room for exploitation and human trafficking to thrive. Human trafficking and exploitation. Women and children trafficked for sex work often experience repeated rape and abuse, with little recourse for justice. Addressing sexual violence requires coordinated global action and multifaceted strategies. Strengthening legal frameworks is paramount. Laws must evolve to protect victims aggressively and hold perpetrators accountable. Governments must enact strict anti-rape laws, ensure timely investigations, and increase conviction rates to serve as a deterrent. Ending impunity requires efficient legal procedures and an independent judiciary to ensure perpetrators face the consequences of their actions. Comprehensive education and awareness initiatives can empower communities, fostering understanding and promoting respect for women's rights. Schools and communities must educate children and adults on consent, gender equality, and reporting mechanisms. Support systems must be established, ensuring victims have access to psychological counseling, medical care, and legal aid without facing stigma or retaliation. Providing economic independence, self defense training, and access to support networks can help women resist and report abuse. Engaging men and boys in advocacy is crucial to dismantling misogyny and redefining societal norms towards gender equality. Men and boys must be part of the conversation to challenge misogyny and promote respect for women's rights. Furthermore, leveraging technology through emergency apps, community hotlines, and better urban planning that include street lighting and safe public spaces enhances safety measures and can help prevent attacks. Sustained international efforts must ensure accountability and justice, standing firmly with the most vulnerable. Global organizations must hold governments accountable for failing to protect victims and ensure justice through international courts if necessary. The rape and gang rape of women and children is one of the gravest human rights violations, demanding urgent action from individuals, communities, and governments worldwide. True justice and prevention can only be achieved through a multi-pronged approach that involves legal reform, education, survivor support, and a cultural shift towards gender equality and respect. Ending this crisis is not just a women's issue, it is a fight for humanity itself. Our collective humanity is measured by how we respond to this grave violation, echoing the call that in the fight against sexual violence, true justice lies in unity, action, and profound change.